Carlos Tavares, the big boss of Jeep's parent company Stellantis, dropped a bombshell in the automotive world. He's challenging the whole industry's rush towards EVs, and his words are causing a stir. Some EV makers are fuming, while fans of traditional gas cars are nodding in agreement. But his statements raise some serious questions. Why is the CEO of Jeep Stellantis skeptical about EVs? What might world leaders be withholding about electrification? And what significant demand did the CEO issue to all EV manufacturers? Tavares recently interviewed by journalists in New York about the challenges facing the EV industry. He was very clear about the issues. First, Tavares talked about the pressure car makers are under. They have to sell EVs or risk falling behind. This shows how urgently the industry needs to adapt to electric cars. The main issue Tavares highlighted is the cost of EVs. He believes that for EVs to become popular, they need to be affordable for most people. Currently, EVs are much more expensive than regular cars, even with government discounts. This high cost is a big barrier for buyers. He also criticized the move to phase out combustion engines in favor of expensive electric vehicles as oppressive. Tavares also raised concerns about how far EVs can travel on a single charge and the availability of charging stations. He pointed out that people are worried about their car batteries running out before they can recharge. He suggests that EVs should be able to travel at least 4,000 meters on one charge to overcome this worry. Lastly, Tavares talked about the cost of making EVs. He explained that the technology needed for EVs makes them about 40% more expensive to produce than traditional cars. This extra cost ends up being paid by the consumer, making EVs less affordable. And Tavares is right. There are several problems with EVs currently. EVs are facing a rough ride on their way to becoming the future of transportation. First, EVs cost a lot. The average price for an EV is now around $66,000. That's a huge 54.3% increase from last year, much more than the price rise for regular gas cars. With these high prices, it's hard for average people to afford an EV. They can hit your wallet hard. Also, finding an EV at a dealership is another problem. About 66% of U.S. car dealerships don't have any EVs to sell. Dealers are hesitant to sell EVs because they need to set up charging stations and train their workers. So, even if you're ready to buy an EV, it might be hard to find one. Carlos Tavares from Stellantis and Jeep says that car companies are making buyers pay for the high costs of making these new fancy cars. He thinks these companies should first help pay some of these costs to make EVs cheaper. Then, there are too many unsold EVs. Major car makers like Tesla, GM, Ford, Hyundai, and Toyota are stuck with lots of EVs that nobody's buying. Their stock of unsold cars is now 3 times what it used to be, showing they're making more cars than there are buyers. Another big worry is how far EVs can go before they need recharging. Lots of people are scared they'll run out of battery, especially on long trips. This fear, known as range anxiety, is a real problem compared to regular gas cars. Big car companies are really pushing EVs and spending billions on them. But they're facing a tough choice: lower prices and make less profit, or make fewer cars to match the low demand. With more than 90 new EV models expected by 2026, it's uncertain if this big investment will be successful. So what's the plan? Companies like Stellantis and Jeep are playing it smart. They say, hey, let's not ditch gas cars yet. How about we go hybrid? Hybrids are like the middle ground: better range, lower emissions, and not so dependent on charging stations. Check out what Jeep's cooking with their e-hybrid tech. It's all about this nifty 1.5-liter turbo petrol engine that cranks out 130 bhp. But wait, there's more. It's got an electric buddy that can pump up the power by another 20 bhp when you need it. It's like having a secret turbo boost. Jeep's 4xe range is where it's at. You've got the Jeep Renegade and Grand Cherokee coming in hot with plug-in hybrid options. And the Jeep Compass? It's playing both sides with plug-in hybrid and e-hybrid choices. Imagine cruising around super quiet, but with all that Jeep power. Plus, you get to pick how you want to drive: full gas, electric, or mix it up with hybrid mode. Tavares is also right about the battery issues in EVs. EVs might be the new kids on the block in the automotive world, but they're packing more than electric power. Take the 2023 GMC Hummer EV, for instance. With its hefty 2900 lb battery, it tips the scales at over 9,000 lbs. Now, compare that to its gasoline-powered cousin, the 2023 GMC Sierra, which is a relative lightweight at under 6,000 lbs. For starters, the sheer weight of EVs makes them riskier on the road. According to the boffins at the National Bureau of Economic Research, the chance of a fatal accident jumps up by 47% for every extra 1,000 lbs your ride is carrying. And since many EVs are hefty like SUVs or pickup trucks, this is a safety flag waving high. Then there's the issue of batteries getting older. Like your old phone, EV batteries can start having problems as they age. But instead of simply slowing down, they can catch fire. And since EVs are heavier because of these big batteries, it's like having a larger fire risk rolling down the road. The weight of EVs also means they wore out more resources. They wear out their tires quicker and need more energy to get moving. So, while they're cruising emissions-free, they're still asking a lot from our planet in other ways. Experts like Carlos Tavares from the EV world are onto this. They're saying, sure, EVs are great, but let's make them lighter. In the world of electric vehicles, the big challenge is about the battery that powers them, not the technology or design. Making these batteries is tough because they need materials that are hard to find. There are some ethical problems, and it involves dealing with different countries. Take lithium, crucial for EV batteries. The problem is that we don't have enough lithium to replace all the fuel cars in the world with EVs. With more than 1.3 billion gas cars around, there simply isn't enough lithium available. This scarcity raises doubts about the possibility of a fully electric car world. Then there's cobalt, another essential component of these batteries. Much of it comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, where mining conditions are harsh and often involve child labor, conflict, and corruption. This raises serious ethical concerns that are sometimes overlooked in discussions about clean energy. China plays a big role in the cobalt industry. They process a lot of the world's cobalt and have significant influence in the DRC's mines. As EVs gain popularity, the U.S.'s dependence on China for cobalt becomes a delicate issue, particularly given the current state of international politics. Any problems in this supply chain could make EV prices skyrocket. So, while EVs are a step towards reducing emissions, the process of getting the materials for them poses its own problems. Mining lithium and cobalt brings up issues of environmental harm and human rights violations. It's a reminder that even the best technologies have downsides, and that solving one problem can sometimes create new ones. What's the government's take on all this? Especially when big names like CEO of Jeep starts questioning Biden's policy. The U.S. is still aiming for a future with many more EVs thanks to ambitious targets set by the Biden administration. They want 2/3 of all cars sold in the U.S. to be electric by 2032, hoping this will greatly reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote cleaner energy. The push for EVs is moving at lightning speed, but some are wondering if it's all happening too quickly. The excitement about moving away from gasoline engines is high, but EV technology still needs some fine-tuning. Plus, not everyone is ready or able to switch to EVs right now. It feels like we're all being rushed to a finish line, but not everyone is prepared to run the race. In the middle of these challenges, companies like Jeep are thinking outside the box. They're looking at alternative fuels, like green ammonia for powering vehicles. When you burn green ammonia in a car engine, it only makes nitrogen and hydrogen, no nasty stuff going into the air. That's a huge plus for keeping our air clean. Ammonia has more usable hydrogen than pure hydrogen and can be turned into liquid more easily, which makes it a strong candidate for fuel. And there's more good news. Green ammonia is made in facilities powered by alternative energy sources, not the usual fossil fuels that add more carbon to the air. So, from start to finish, using green ammonia is a way to help fight climate change. A 60-liter tank filled with ammonia has the potential to drive a typical fuel cell EV an impressive 400 miles, while only emitting hydrogen and nitrogen. Jeep is boldly pursuing this alternative, a move that could significantly impact the company's future. That wraps our discussion for today. What are your thoughts on banning combustion engines and the authenticity of EVs? Share your opinions in the comments.